Look, guys, the super rich are just like us. They have to worry about the epidemic too. That's why they're chartering private jets to flee the country, getting in touch with their healthcare providers, and selling stores out of designer $35 hand sanitizer. It's not all bad though. Southern Jet, a private charter jet company, sent out a marketing email saying, "Avoid coronavirus by flying private. Request a quote today." See, when life gives you epidemons, make Epidemicade. Now, if you're surprised by the panicked, Hunger Games villain response of the wealthy, which, let's be honest, you are not. Back in 2018, there was an article warning us of how the super wealthy intended to respond to the event. Doug Rushkoff, a lecturer, media theorist, and writer on digital culture, wrote an article back in 2018 of his experience being invited to a resort to deliver a keynote speech to a bunch of investment bankers about the future of technology. Now, first of all, Rushkoff was surprised to learn his audience was just 5 super wealthy guys. And instead of listening to the speech he had prepared, they started peppering him with questions about the future. They warmed him up with questions about Bitcoin, and then got to their real concern: how to survive after the event. Now, what is the event? Well, the event, according to these wealthy guys, is the dystopia that occurs after the inevitable crisis. What Rushkoff writes was their euphemism for the environmental collapse, social unrest, nuclear explosion, unstoppable virus, or Mr. Robot hack that takes everything down. Now, were these powerful, reasonable, moderate, status quo-loving gentlemen worrying about how to bring all of society back to normal? That is, saving humans from total societal collapse? Nah. They're worried about saving their own skins by creating an army of shock collar wearing slave goons. Rushkoff writes, they knew armed guards would be required to protect their compounds from the angry mobs, but how would they pay the guards once money was worthless? What would stop the guards from choosing their own leader? The billionaires considered using special combination locks on the food supply that only they knew, or making guards wear disciplinary collars of some kind in return for their survival, or maybe building robots to serve as guards and workers if that technology could be developed in time. Yep, that's I wish I could say I was shocked to hear that the super wealthy want to create an army of starved, enslaved, or maybe robotic guards to protect them from the angry mobs of the poor people that they'd screwed over. I wish I was surprised to hear that the people who fight so hard against things like providing healthcare to all, working on a Green New Deal to save the environment, or, generally improving the lives of the many, actually do know that their actions will someday destroy the world, and that their concern is not about guilt they'll feel over killing millions, but how to desperately cling to their piles of riches even after society collapses, how to continue to suppress the masses even when their money has no value by shock collars or food vaults or robot armies. I wish I could say I was surprised to hear that these wealthy, reasonable moderates, these elites who promise us they're the rational solution to our problems, are actually just waiting to become immortant Joes, hoarding, oppressing, and brutalizing the common people until the bitter end. But I'm not. I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised that this article in 2018 has actually become a reality now, with rich people f***ing off on their private jets to their chateaus, wearing their designer face masks. Chillingly, after meeting with these wealthy ghouls, Rushkoff concluded, quote, "For them, the future of technology is really about just one thing: escape." If you've wondered why the super wealthy seem so ambivalent about things like Medicare for all or saving our planet from climate destruction, urging us to not be so radical, urging patience and incremental change, while scolding us for not accepting the status quo. If you're wondering why they seem so cavalier about the fate of the planet, it's because they have an escape plan. They're standing next to the only emergency exit in a burning building that they set on fire, calling for us to calm down and stop panicking, because all our pained screams are giving them a migraine. And once they get out that door, they're locking it behind them, because the smell of our burning flesh is giving them a tummy ache. Now, maybe I'm biased, since I kind of don't want to live in a dystopia, but it seems like the real extremists are not the ones asking for universal health care or for workers to get sick leave so they don't have to risk death for money, or, any changes to our collision course with planetary ruin. But maybe the real extremists are the people talking about how to use food as currency and make soldiers wear shock collars after the event. But here's the real kicker. It won't work. Sure, maybe they'll continue to pump resources out of the planet until it's a withered husk, starve people of healthcare, and work them to literal death. But here's the thing, you rich fucking ghouls. Nature doesn't give a single shit about your net worth. Yes, your fancy air masks and access to private doctors and planes and hermetically sealed orbs will give you a leg up. Maybe you won't die as quickly as the rest of us poor slobs, but eventually, that little virus is gonna get ya. And unlike politicians, it can't be bought off. And even if you manage to buy your own private custom paint job respirators, your own private vaccines, if the rest of us get sick, without our labor and our money, how are you going to stay wealthy? How do you eat? How do you live on a shell of a planet? Who are you going to pay to maintain your orchards and wipe your asses if you let us all die off? Thanks for watching that clip that I don't know what it was, but you do because you watched it. And thanks. Like and subscribe. Patreon.com/somemore news. Even more news podcast. Like and subscribe.